But here's the deeper truth. This isn't just about them learning to value you. It's about you learning to value yourself. Because when you stop offering yourself cheaply, when you stop giving away unlimited access to your time and energy, you reclaim your dignity. You stop waiting for their recognition to confirm your worth. You confirm it by withdrawing. You confirm it by becoming rare. In the modern world, this lesson is critical. We live in an age of constant availability, instant replies, blue check marks, seen notifications. People expect you to be on call 24/7, and the more available you are, the more invisible you become. Silence disrupts that pattern. It reminds people, my energy is sacred. My time is not endless. My presence is not guaranteed. That shift commands respect in a way words never could. So the next time you feel guilty for not answering right away, remember this: scarcity creates value. Your silence teaches the less, and they never wanted to learn but needed the most. You don't get unlimited access to me. You don't get to take me for granted. That truth stings, but it also heals, because it reminds you that your energy was never meant to be cheap. Protect it, guard it, make it rare. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. Silence is living proof of that truth. Because silence shows something most people never expect from you: that you are not dependent. You are not clinging to their attention. You are not begging for scraps of validation. You are showing, without a single word, that you are whole on your own. And that terrifies them. They expected silence to crush you. They thought you would break under the pressure, that the quiet would drive you back into their arms, desperate to be heard. But instead, silence became your weapon. While they sit in confusion, replaying the last conversation, waiting for you to make the first move, you are busy growing. You are healing. You are rebuilding. Your silence tells them the one truth they never wanted to face: I don't need you. One, choose me. Dependence is weakness. Independence is power. And silence is independence in action. Each time you resist the urge to explain yourself, you are breaking invisible chains. Each time you hold back from texting first, you are proving your freedom. Each time you choose to focus on your own growth instead of chasing their reaction, you are reclaiming control over your life. This is the sovereignty Marcus Aurelius wrote about: the ability to rule yourself, no matter what chaos rages outside. In today's world, dependence is everywhere. People scroll endlessly, chasing attention from strangers online. They refresh their messages, hoping for validation. They check notifications like they're checking their pulse. And what does that reveal? Dependency, weakness, fragility. But when you step back, when you prove through silence that you don't need constant approval to stand tall, you become rare. You become powerful. You show that your self-worth doesn't collapse when others withhold recognition. And here's the secret: independence is magnetic. The more you demonstrate that you are complete without them, the more unsettled they become. Because control depends on your neediness. If you don't need them, they can't control you. If you're fine on your own, their power dissolves. That's why silence terrifies. It's not just absence, it's evidence. Evidence that you've broken free. So the next time you feel the urge to break silence, redirect that energy. Pick up a book that sharpens your mind. Train your body until it becomes strong again. Build something meaningful. A project, a dream, a skill. Every ounce of energy you invest in yourself instead of in chasing them becomes another brick in the fortress of your independence. And when that fortress is complete, you will no longer fear silence, you will cherish it. Because silence no longer means loneliness. It means freedom. Epictetus once said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." Silence is exactly that discipline in action. It isn't just withdrawal. It isn't passive avoidance. It is you declaring, through restraint, that your dignity is more valuable than any argument. And discipline, when practiced consistently, always breeds respect. Think about it. People rarely respect what is handed to them too easily. They respect what is rare, what has boundaries, what refuses to be cheapened. If you constantly respond to every provocation, if you always explain yourself, if you rush to clear misunderstandings, you may feel like you're proving your worth, but in reality, you're lowering it. Your words become noise. Your presence becomes predictable. Your value fades in their eyes. But when you choose silence, something shifts. You refuse to beg. You refuse to defend. You refuse to plead for understanding. That refusal forces people to see you differently. The same presence they once dismissed becomes the presence they now crave. The more you remain unshaken, the more respect quietly grows, even if they never admit it out loud. In modern life, this plays out everywhere. In relationships, when you stop chasing, your silence commands attention. At work, when you don't scramble to justify every decision, but let your actions speak, you earn authority. Among friends, when you hold your boundaries instead of explaining them endlessly, you create respect that explanations never could. Silence communicates something words often fail to capture. I respect myself too much to lower my value. What's stronger, words or silence? Most people answer without hesitation. Words. They think power lives in shouting louder, arguing harder, explaining longer, defending themselves until their voice cracks. But that's the illusion. The truth is this: nothing cuts deeper than silence. Silence is a storm they cannot escape. It is a mirror they cannot look away from. It is the one weapon they never expected you to use, and that's why it hurts the most. Think about it. They expected you to chase. They expected you to beg, to plead, to write long messages explaining yourself. They thought you would exhaust yourself trying to prove your worth. But when you chose silence, everything shifted. Their confidence turned into doubt. Their arrogance curdled into fear. Their comfort began to feel like panic. Because silence isn't weakness. It isn't surrender. Silence is control. Silence is dignity. Silence is proof that you no longer need their validation to stand tall. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You always own the option of having no opinion. That is silence in action." It's refusing to hand over your power to people who don't deserve it. It's choosing to rise above noise instead of drowning in it. In a world obsessed with attention, likes, comments, constant availability, your silence is rebellion. It says, "You don't get unlimited access to me. My energy is mine, and I choose when and where to use it." That choice terrifies people because it forces them to face themselves without your presence to distract them. In this journey, we'll uncover why silence is so devastating to those who underestimate you and so transformative for you. We'll see how silence punishes arrogance, creates value through scarcity, proves your independence, commands respect, shifts the balance of power, creates space for healing, forces reflection, and ultimately declares that you have chosen yourself. These are not soft ideas. They are not feel-good affirmations. They are brutal Stoic truths, and when practiced, they rebuild you from the inside out. So before we begin, I want you to anchor this in your mind. Say it with me: my silence is power. My worth is unshakable. That's not just an affirmation, it's a declaration. Because today, you're not here to learn how to shout louder. You're here to master the art of silence, and in doing so, master yourself. Epictetus once said, "Silence is safer than speech." At first, that sounds like a contradiction. We've been conditioned to believe that speaking up is strength, that defending yourself shows confidence, that silence is retreat. But in reality, silence is often the punishment they never expected. It removes the very fuel they were counting on: your reaction. They wanted your explanations, your defenses, your energy. They wanted the shouting match, because shouting means you're still engaged. They wanted the endless back and forth, because that means they still matter to you. But when you choose silence, you give them nothing, and that nothing becomes everything. At first, they don't take it seriously. They assume your silence is temporary. They tell themselves, he'll come back. She'll eventually explain. They'll break down and respond. But as the hours stretch into days, and days turn into weeks, silence begins to echo. It grows heavier, louder, harder to ignore. Arguments can be dismissed. Words can be twisted. But silence doesn't give them anything to work with. It forces them to sit with themselves, to replay every choice, every insult, every careless action that drove you away. And in that replay, regret grows sharper than any words you could have spoken. This is why silence terrifies people. It doesn't shout, it echoes. It lingers in the quiet moments they can't distract themselves from. At night, when the world slows down, when there are no messages lighting up their phone, your silence becomes unbearable. They thought you would be predictable, that you would break, that you would need to explain. But you didn't, and in not explaining, you flip the script. Think about the power in that. In a society where people can't go 10 minutes without checking their notifications, choosing silence is radical. It's resistance. It's saying, I will not be baited into proving myself to people who never valued me in the first place. That restraint is punishment enough. And the beauty of it is this. You don't even have to lift a finger. You don't have to waste your energy. Silence does the work for you. But here's the catch, you must hold it. Breaking silence too soon weakens its impact. One text, one explanation, one attempt to defend yourself can undo days of strength. So the next time you feel the urge to break, pause, breathe. Remind yourself that silence is not absence. It's power, it's discipline. Every unanswered message, every call you let pass, every explanation you withhold is you reclaiming your dignity piece by piece. So remember this. Silence is not weakness. It's the punishment they never saw coming. And the longer you hold it, the deeper it cuts not into you, but into them. Seneca once wrote, it is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more. That is poor. That wisdom doesn't just apply to wealth, it applies to attention, presence, and energy. When you are always available, they treated you as though your time and your words were infinite. They assumed they could call, text, demand, and you would always respond. But when you chose silence, you created scarcity. And scarcity changes everything. Think about it. When water flows endlessly from the tap, no one treasures each drop. But when the well runs dry, suddenly every ounce is priceless. The same is true of your attention. As long as it was always there, they felt entitled to it. But when you pulled it back, when you removed your voice from their world, your value multiplied. They replay the conversations they dismissed. They remember the laughter they ignored. They crave the comfort they once took for granted. Silence turns everyday moments into treasures because those moments are gone. This is the paradox of presence. The more available you are, the less you're valued. The less available you become, the more your presence commands attention. Your silence becomes the rarest gift, the one they cannot touch, cannot demand, cannot control. And scarcity always fuels desire. And here's the paradox, silence doesn't just build respect from others. It builds respect for yourself. Each time you choose not to break your silence, you remind yourself that your emotions don't rule you. You remind yourself that your dignity is untouchable. That internal respect is the foundation of external authority. People sense it. They may not say it, but deep down, they feel it. This person cannot be moved so easily. Anyone can fire off an emotional message. Anyone can explode in anger, but it takes a different kind of strength to walk away without a word, to stand firm without pleading for attention. That strength is undeniable, and it resonates more loudly than shouting ever could. So the next time you're tempted to break silence, ask yourself one simple question. Does this raise my value or lower it? If reaching out lowers it, stay quiet. If breaking discipline weakens respect, hold firm. Because respect is not something you demand, it's something you command. And silence, when chosen with dignity, is one of the sharpest commands you'll ever give. Seneca once said, "No man is free who's not master of himself." Power doesn't belong to the loudest voice in the room. It doesn't belong to the one who argues the longest or demands the most. Power belongs to the one who needs the least. And that is why silence shifts the balance of power so dramatically. When you choose silence, you take control back into your own hands. You are no longer reacting to their games. You are no longer dancing to their rhythm. They expected you to fold, to reach out first, to re-establish the connection they believe they controlled. But when you don't, when you hold your line, something happens beneath their feet. The ground shifts. Suddenly, they're the one waiting. They're the one checking their phone. They're the one replaying the last conversation, wondering where their grip went. Your silence makes them feel powerless. Think about the last argument you've witnessed or maybe even been in. The person who reacts emotionally, shouting, sending long texts, always seems desperate. But the one who remains calm, who refuses to be baited, who doesn't rush to explain, that person always looks stronger. That person always commands more authority. That's what silence does. It flips the script without you lifting a finger. In the modern world, this is especially true. Social media thrives on reaction. The faster you reply, the angrier you get. The more energy you pour into the noise, the more you feed the cycle. Choosing silence in that environment is almost revolutionary. It starves the chaos. It proves that you are not controlled by clicks, notifications, or demands. And when you starve the chaos begins to starve them. They lose the control they thought they had over you. This is why silence is not weakness. It is dominance. It's not about punishing for the sake of hurting. It's about reclaiming the authority you handed away when you reacted. True power belongs to the person who doesn't give it away cheaply. By mastering your emotions, by refusing to hand them your energy, you create strength that cannot be touched. So the next time you feel the urge to react, pause. Ask yourself, am I about to give away my power? Or am I about to strengthen it? Hold back, breathe. Let silence work for you. Because when the storm clears, it will be obvious to everyone who truly held control it wasn't the one shouting. It was the one who stayed silent. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Silence is what protects that quality." Because silence is not only a punishment for them, it is medicine for you. It is space. It is clarity. It is the pause you've been craving but never allowed yourself to take. When you step back, when you stop feeding the endless cycle of arguments and explanations, you create something sacred. Space to heal. Think about how conflict feels when you're in the middle of it. Every word feels like fuel to a fire that won't die. Every message, every call, every debate just adds more noise. There's no room to breathe, no room to think, no room to recover. That's why silence is powerful. It removes you from the storm and lets the air clear. Suddenly, the noise quiets. You can hear your own voice again. You can reconnect with yourself. In that silence, healing begins. Your absence stops you from reliving the same pain over and over. It prevents you from reopening the same wound with every interaction. Instead, you give yourself room to rebuild. You strengthen your body, sharpen your mind, and steady your spirit. What they see as punishment is really transformation. While they're busy wondering why you haven't spoken, You're busy becoming stronger than ever. Modern life rarely gives us this kind of quiet. We are bombarded with distractions, social media, constant notifications, demands from work and relationships. The world tells you that being available at all times is necessary, but it's not. Availability drains you. Silence restores you. By pulling back, you remind yourself that your peace is not something to be negotiated. It's something you must protect at all costs. And here's the beauty of it. Silence isn't empty. It's full of self-respect, full of discipline, full of opportunity. In silence, you finally notice the thoughts you've been ignoring. In silence, you have the time to pick up a book, to train your body, to pursue the skill you always said you didn't have time for. Every moment you spend investing in yourself instead of chasing someone else becomes another layer of armor, another break in the fortress of your independence. So don't see silence as absence. See it as medicine. See it as the quiet that sharpens your clarity, the pause that heals your heart, the space that builds your strength. Because in that silence, you are not losing. You are recovering. You are preparing. You are rising. Epictetus once wrote, "Men are disturbed not by things, but by the view which they take of them. And nothing disturbs a person more than silence they cannot control." Words can be argued with, twisted, or dismissed. But silence is a mirror. It reflects back everything they hope to avoid. When you pull back, when you stop explaining yourself, when you refuse to keep feeding their ego with reactions, you force them to face the one thing they fear most themselves. At first, they act unbothered. They might laugh, brush it off, pretend they don't care. But when the noise of the day fades, when night settles in and there's nothing to distract them, your silence grows louder. It echoes in their mind. They start replaying every word they spoke, every choice they made, every moment they dismissed you. And suddenly, regret cuts deeper than any argument ever could. This is the hidden strength of silence. It flips the burden. Instead of you questioning yourself, did I say too much? Should I have explained better? They are the one questioning everything. Your absence creates a battlefield in their own head. Every unanswered call becomes a reminder. Every day without your presence becomes a lesson. They don't just miss your words, they miss the security of knowing you are always there. That security is gone, and its absence stings. In the modern world, this is amplified. We're used to instant responses. Read receipts, typing bubbles, constant availability. It all creates the illusion that people belong to us on demand. When you break that illusion with silence, it unsettles them to their core. They begin to wonder, why didn't they respond? Why are they not chasing me? Why am I the one left waiting? Those questions spiral, and each spiral digs deeper into reflection they never wanted to face. And here's the key. The cleaner your silence, the sharper the reflection. If you break it with mixed signals, have answers, or emotional outbursts, the mirror cracks and the lesson weakens. But if you remain steady, if your silence is consistent, their reflection becomes undeniable. They cannot escape it. They cannot hide from it. So remember this. Silence doesn't protect them, it exposes them. It reveals how careless they were, how much they relied on your presence, how fragile their confidence really was. And the longer you stay silent, the clearer the truth becomes. Your silence is the mirror they cannot look away from, no matter how much it hurts. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." Silence is exactly that action without argument. It is your declaration, not in words but in behavior, that you have chosen yourself. When you refuse to beg, when you stop explaining, when you walk away without looking back, you are saying, "I will no longer accept half love, disrespect, or being taken for granted. I choose me. This is the most liberating shift of all, because silence proves something louder than any speech, that your worth does not hinge on their recognition. You are no longer the person waiting for apologies, attention, or validation. You are no longer the one who bends to be understood. Your silence sends the clearest message: I deserve more, and I will not lower my standard to meet someone else's neglect. At first, this shakes them. They thought you would crawl back, that absence would weaken you, that your need for them would outweigh your self-respect. But day after day, as your silence holds, a different truth becomes obvious. You are not orbiting round them. You are not living for their approval. Your world revolves round you now. Your peace, your dignity, your growth. And that realization unsettles them, because for the first time, they see what strength looks like without them. In the modern world, this is radical. We are taught to chase closure, to demand explanations, to argue until someone finally admits they were wrong. But closure is not something others give you, it is something you give yourself. And silence is closure in its purest form. It says, I don't need your apology to move on. I don't need your words to validate my worth. I don't need your presence to build my life. That is self-respect in action. So write down your standards. Be crystal clear about what you will never accept again, whether it's lies, neglect, or disrespect. And then live by that code. Let silence be your filter. If they cross those lines, you don't beg, you don't argue, you don't explain. You withdraw, because every time you choose silence in the face of disrespect, you are choosing yourself again. Silence proves the truth they never wanted to see. You were never weak for walking away. You were strong enough to stop waiting for someone else to value what you had already known all along, that your peace is priceless. And once you've chosen yourself, no one can take that away. You've arrived at the end of the journey. But in truth, it's only the beginning. We've walked together through the storm and into the silence, and what you've discovered isn't just a tactic, not just a way to punish others, but a way to reclaim yourself. Silence has become the thread connecting each lesson, the proof that you can stand, even when the world expects you to kneel. And now it's time to gather everything into one clear truth you can carry forward. Look back for a moment. When you first began, you may have thought silence was weakness, a retreat, something to be ashamed of. But with each step, you've seen how silence transforms. At first, it unsettles them, punishes arrogance, makes them question the comfort they thought they had. Then it shifts the balance, creates scarcity, proves you are not dependent. It grows respect. It heals your wounds. It forces them to reflect, and in the end, it becomes a declaration. You have chosen yourself. The story began with them. It ends with you. This is the part most people never reach. They get lost in noise. They defend. They argue. They beg. They explain. And when the noise fades, they're left empty, because they've spent all their energy on people who never intended to listen. You are different now. You've learned that the most powerful statement you'll ever make isn't spoken, it's lived. It's not the paragraph you send at midnight. It's the silence you hold at sunrise. And here's the paradox. While silence may hurt them, it heals you. They feel the sting of absence, the echo of your withdrawal, the sharp edges of regret. But for you, silence is medicine. It's a pause, a chance to breathe, to reconnect, to rebuild. While they replay the past, you are building a future. While they wonder if you will return, you are moving forward stronger than before. That is why silence is powerful. It doesn't just change the story for them. It rewrites the story for you. Think about how rare this is in our time. Everywhere you look, there's noise, constant messages, endless opinions, arguments that never stop. People mistake volume for a value, attention for affection. They believe that if they're loud enough, They'll finally be respected. But the truth is, respect rarely grows out of noise. It grows out of restraint. It grows out of the ability to choose when not to respond, when not to be baited, when not to give yourself away cheaply. And that's what you've begun to master. You may feel the temptation to break it, to send the message, to explain your silence, to prove you're not weak. That temptation is natural. But remember this, each time you hold back, you are not losing. You're winning. You're reminding yourself that your emotions don't control you, you control them. And that's the core of Stoicism. Freedom doesn't come from bending the world to your will. Freedom comes from ruling yourself, regardless of what the world throws at you. So what happens next? You take these lessons out of this video and into your life. You practice them not once, but daily. Silence when provoked. Silence when disrespected. Silence when explaining would only drain you. And you turn the energy you save inward into growth, into learning, into building a life that no one can take from you. This is not running away. This is rising. Imagine it for a moment. A week from now, you've chosen silence where you would have argued. A month from now, you've redirected that energy into your health, your work, your passions. A year from now, you look back and realize that the arguments that once consumed you don't even cross your mind anymore. Instead of chasing them, you've built yourself. Instead of waiting for their recognition, you've recognized your own worth. That is the long game of silence. It doesn't just win the moment. It wins the future. And so, here is your challenge. Don't just nod along. Don't just agree in theory. Pick one place in your life, right now, where silence is the stronger choice. Maybe it's the text you don't send. Maybe it's the argument you don't join. Maybe it's the apology you stop waiting for. Hold the silence. Let it do its work. And while it works on them, let it work on you. Fill the space with growth. Journal, train, read, build. Turn absence into presence, the presence of a stronger self. If you've made it here, that already tells me something about you. You're not like the ones who click away when things get uncomfortable. You've stayed because something in you is ready for more than noise. You're ready for discipline, for clarity, for strength. That's rare, and if you want to keep building it, then don't let this be the end. Stay with us, subscribe, connect, keep walking this path where philosophy becomes practice, where silence becomes strength, where life becomes something you can command instead of something that commands you. So let's seal it with one final truth, one final affirmation. Say it out loud. Say it in the comments. Say it until it becomes your anchor. My silence builds me, and nothing can break me. Let that be your promise, not just to this community, but to yourself, because the world may never fully understand the power of silence. But you do. You've seen how it unsettles them, how it strengthens you, how it transforms everything. They never knew silence could hurt this bad, and you never knew silence could heal this deeply. That is the lesson, that is the weapon, and that is your path forward. Until next time, stay strong, stay silent, and stay unshakable.